My apologies. Early College East. This has been a setup in the making. Finds the crack over on the side and actually could have potentially been the free KP for our solo dolo rat. Omen, though, in the end is picked up instead by Sunrise Gaming. Kids DOS over on the end will find that knock, and for 1437 is just behind the other side of this one, and will inevitably picked up by Seb there on the other end. But with that zone ticking on its way, it is probably all said and over for Early College East.
Oh yeah, they're just getting held on the outside there by Sunrise Gaming. Okay, Suzu, I see you. Suzu was put in a really interesting spot where I don't think Hiura knew that it was a 1v1 when they were trying to res earlier. They were being pushed by that Watson. They were like, you know what? Hey, I'm going to get on out of here. They eventually get that reset, but then we see Hiura dead and 2 remaining. Now it's down to 1, but Suzu are still in it. As high ground, the name of the game here, but not going to be able to hold this for too long.
This
just
is insane.
Inching forward with the Rampart. I mean, hey, they're playing the game, but they've only got 45 seconds till they have to make a call.
For the Sun Valley Goats, I have very rarely seen a Rampart find a control like this. In fairness, I rarely see a Rampart to boot. We just barely were almost going to enter into a season where it was somewhat more viable, but you know, other control picks always rear their head like that Caustic in the end. Like you said, it's not something that will last for long, but hey, could potentially pay dividends. You take a look at this next zone pull, and we are heading aggressively, I mean, as hard as it gets towards the outskirts of the southwest of our map. I don't think I've ever seen a zone like this. If I am completely correct, it almost looks like that zone is cutting into the previous one.
It does appear that it's cutting a little bit. Oh no, just
barely. Okay.
Yeah, just barely. But I mean, the statement still stands, right? That is arguably one of the worst zones to have. You want to get to cover and grab any of that as soon as possible. Meanwhile, fights continue here. One Revenant jumping from rock to rock. We've still got champions with the high ground here. Spots the red armor. You have to, at this point, know that this is a team that likes to fight, and they've got some good damage down. Crack onto one. Out go the spikes. And I mean, the zone right behind him. You're going to have to walk into this eventually. It's an RE45. It's damage from the high ground. And I don't think Germ is long for this world. Germ too nasty has been taken down, but the rest of the squad still stands. Meanwhile, Zone 4 continues to close. Beautiful maneuver there from Proto. Give a bit of concealment, but they'll have to continue to push through. No, instead, they'll get pushed through themselves. The portal out in front. Anthony is away from the fight, and bodies are starting to get dropped. Imperial Howl Lovers down to just 1. It's Momo who's backed away from the fight to now. For now, will look to find a reset. But unfortunately, not a great spot. Never mind, wait, a backstab there. Gets the shield off. Styx goes down. Champions now on the back foot of this fight as a revive comes through, and Jack the Ripper is the guy you want alive in this fight.
Anthony moving in, though, off of what could have been the sound of that revive is instead pieced out finally by the likes of Imperial Howl Lovers. They take advantage of a bit of that heat shield to keep this, or no, this is my apologies, not them taking advantage of the heat shield, is MIA working with the little extra cover they have to keep that one going. We talk about not really being able to thrive on the edge here, and as a result, with that one down, they are now in face value of this final island. It is none other than the Sun Valley Goats on one side and one other squad on the other as well. Sun Valley Goats doing a great job just kind of playing quiet. Notice they haven't even opted to put a Rampart shield down. They're more than happy just being a fly on the side of the wall here.
I mean, and this doesn't feel fair. Suzu are somehow in the game. This is that Revenant that we saw playing the top of the rocks. This was the only play as well to make, right? Having to run through this open area, take that evac, try and find safety, and they've done just that. Sunrise Gaming going to turn their backs and look to find the fight down just underneath the rock that they hold, and some way, somehow, there's a bit of cover to survive. And we saw, right, a team looking at Sunrise Gaming just a moment ago. They're in the best position possible because now Sunrise Gaming had given up their high ground.
This is that move out from MIA over here, trying to take advantage of that little cover, but Sunrise Gaming knows they want to be the only ones to play from this position. Ring around the rosies will be apparently the game, though, is the favoring of our friends from MIA as they opt to not even fight this one at all. Shot from the back, though. No. That, in the end, is none other than Suzu. Will go down, of course, in fourth, 14-37, unable to last that much longer here. My question is, where is Sun Valley Goats? This is a team of full 3 somewhere. Or at least a duo. No, it's a 3. Where's the 3?
Yeah, they are a team of 3, but they're in a pretty good spot. They don't have the high ground, but they're just tucked away right behind this rock. Eventually, Sunrise Gaming is going to have to jump off here of this high ground, and there's going to be 2 teams below them waiting there to connect. I'm wondering if MIA looks to fight or if they just stay hunkered down, and, well, they're going to take the ladder there. They do not want to get involved in any of that.
I like this from MIA. You pay your respects to what exists in this lobby. Notably, we are not in tournament mode, so all these teams, if they had been counting just like a handful of minutes ago, should know that there is only so many players left in this lobby, and especially after taking this duo fight against MIA, or at least, my apologies, Sunrise Gaming above here, should have some identity to work with. For the Sun Valley Goats, though, it's their time to wait. They've got all the cover in the world to work with. They're one of the few rosters out there that could make or break, survive to boot in the ocean. From the walls of the Rampart to the Newcastle Castle Wall, this is one of the few times a composition like this is impeccably crafted for an end zone like this.
And I mean, look at the web that has been weaved there by MIA. There's nowhere to go. If you're the Sun Valley Goats, pushing to the right is not an option unless you're going to look to fight through that and take down all those pylons. And it just does not seem like the call. And that team of 3 has now become a team of 2. A resurrection for just a second at the tap on it. Now the lifeline will get involved. Unfortunately, MIA just down to the last. Mochi going to try and hang on. Play inside the web that they have weaved. It'll be a 2v2v1 between Sunrise, MIA, and Sun Valley as Mochi continues to survive. Plays the interceptor here. Gonna get the shield, just continuing to top off. The zone pushes through. Mochi in such a great spot will collect the kill and the wipe onto 1, and now knows that it's down to just minimal players left in this lobby, but cannot get the swap, and that is going to do it. MIA, they go so far, but again, they live up to the namesake, and they fall in second place.
It is a wild finish to our game, but even still, from above, Sunrise Gaming, a team that I had credited earlier for their acknowledgement of great macro, come out on top of it all. They're able to play through from that high ground position, a position, mind you, that basically never happens in the face of a team that has much better defensive standing in Sun Valley, and a team that's coming out from behind to pick up the win. We're going to jump, though, right into the action here with Group B. Over in Checkpoint is where they find themselves for Game 3.
And we are deep into this one, as you can see. Zone 4 just about to close.
The Hammerheads. Great height played by them. This is a great spot to work your way into the end zone, at least for now.
And Ton's one of the teams that we've been keeping our eye on. They were coming off of a victory in that second World's Edge game that we caught the end of earlier. We'll see if they can continue that success here on Storm Point. We didn't get much of that. We saw kill success, but win success, right? That placement success escaped some of our teams, like Imperial Howlovers, like Toxic Ghost, once we swapped maps. But we'll see if that script can be flipped there for Tons. They still survive. 6 squads remain, so everybody earning their fair share of the placement points. And nobody's given up a spot just yet, right? We've been sitting here with Hammerheads, and they've got a lot of information. This Longbow just playing that recon and surveillance for the team. Skino, oh man, they're not in their third party in days here on Storm Point. It's only down to 1.
No, not quite set up for the potential. Ziffy, literally the last remaining member on this Wraith. It's going to be something they'll have to work with. But hey, this time around, Lodestar Toadley and crew from RMHS Griffin. This is a team that, instead of being the rat, has found their way through 3. Something to note with this final zone, though, it's just the fact that survivability is definitely going to be the name of the game. And given how much space is left alive into this deck zone, we're not going to see many people fall until that final pull. So as we jump around here, you can see the Kings are still in here. Jason Aldeas Rojas also as well on the upper end. And one other squad that we have not checked out as well.
And not a bad spot here. Not quite the high ground, not quite the low ground, but no eyes on this team. Umer, however, a bit split off from the squad. That's kind of a scary place to be. Hopefully they don't get punished. Obviously the Kings, like you mentioned, they're down to their last two. No real chance at getting anybody back this late in the game without getting aped. I guess you could get somebody back, but you are probably going to be punished in doing so. And as we've jumped around from, POV to POV, it seems like the Hammerheads are in such a great spot, arguably one of the best spots here. And then they've got a couple of ultimates that just make it so hard to be anywhere that's not in a building or underneath some of this cover, right? That Gibraltar and that Bangalore ultimate is going to make it difficult when you're moving through this open area, especially as Zone 5 closes.
For sure. Between the Hammerheads and the Tons here, they're really the only two squads that have some stake of lave control. We're going to lose out on a lot of that upper checkpoint height here in a second. Seems like there might be a bit of a corner in, but you could see there the Griffins already finding the Kings in their first drop against the Butter Kid. I have to question how long Skino will survive as a single member there. On the other side, we do see Jason Alande Rojas starting to move out. Granted, they got the window. They've got this building still.
Yeah, they're put in a rough spot. Inside the zone's not where you want to be. And, I mean, you're not going to be surviving for very long inside the heat shield either. Platinum Toad, you do not have the time to pop that Phoenix kit, my friend. We'll see if that eventually goes off. As JAR is what I will call them, as you so elegantly pronounce the full name of Jason Alande Rojas. Man, that is shame on them for making us say that. As finally the Hammerheads, they've started to pull the trigger. They had gotten eyes on every single team left in this lobby. And now that this zone is closing, they're starting to chip away at the remaining resources that are available to these squads and use that high ground to their advantage.
Yeah. JAR, though, is in a really good spot to capitalize against either one of these teams. The problem is where their next chunk of cover is going to come from, because they lose out on this building, and that's going to be losing cover that's a lot earlier than the Tons lose out on this playful spot, and of course the Hammerheads from above. They both will be forced to exit eventually, but oh my gosh, have that been a single tick ahead forward, could have been potentially a deep ending for JAR. Instead, they will be able to get the reset. And I like this from Cataclysm and crew, already moving ahead to this pill forward, knowing they're going to lose out on that building, starting to try to cater towards new space, given that this zone continues to adapt. Going to try to throw up that black hole there. See if they can make that one work for them, at least just to dissuade for now. The height still unplayable for the Hammerheads. They're more than happy to just let the damage be done for them. Me from above is going to find that knock onto Cataclysm.
Yeah, I mean, in some way, somehow, Skino are still finding fights in this. They were down to just one as Tons have rotated around. They're put in an awkward spot for a moment. Nanakai not done fighting just yet. Cataclysm gonna get res there. Monster gonna back away from the fight as the suppression comes through, and it's this Bangalore just standing out in the open, 10 toes down, taking the fight to everybody that remains, and it's the Hammerheads that continue to rain down and pepper shots on these players that are just trying to survive. Now we finally get the drop here. Monster gonna find one on Bamboozified. Nanakai gonna find another. Ben's been taken down. Me with the Peacekeeper looking to do some damage. Tons on the back foot.
Oh, that's
but it's not for very long. A beautiful ultimate there. We see the Hammerheads gone, and Lodestar will stand for the squad here, the only one that remains.
Two squads remaining, though. Two squads remaining on the other side. Griffin as a solo in one more up against the Tons on the other end. A rotation from behind, though, will seal the fate of Nanakai as from out and below, that was a full three-man. That was a full three-man coming out of nowhere for the final moment.
And I believe that's our JAR. That's our squad that was dodging, ducking, diving behind the rocks, hiding behind the high ground there. Sammy with a couple of traps before eventually falling at the end. And then Umer, the GOAT there. We saw a couple of awkward Horizon ultimates, and then we saw so many throwables being tossed in, not on the dark holes. In all of that chaos, JAR, they make a name that's so incredibly hard to pronounce for us here on the desk to rattle off in the heat of the moment, but they're able to get it done there. In arguably, I don't want to say that they were in one of the worst spots, but tons were inside that building. They had the wherewithal. You called it out. Hey, we got to give this building up. Let's start to rotate. The Hammerheads, I don't know what uh, cursed them to drop down at the moment that they did, because they immediately get scrapped up. JAR to clean up there. I mean, that is heads up from that squad.
Yeah, it's very rare that you see that top squad win unless it is absolutely nothing to work with from below. So the Hammerheads are in a great position, but that drop is so hard to navigate when teams know it's coming. Once again, a huge congratulations to JAR coming on top of the win in their third match of Group B. When we come back from this break, we'll be wrapping things up on our first day of our Apex Showdown. Welcome back to the VESL Apex one-off tournament. We are a single game away from wrapping up our day one and splitting to our halfway point for not just one of our lobbies, but now the both of them. Group B is potentially to be set in stone after our slight delayed rotation.
Yeah, a little bit slighter delayed, but it's allowed for us to catch every game just about. That last one we jumped in with, I believe, 6 squads remaining, and it was everything that you would expect. That's like that game was actually like the center of the roll. Listen, I'm not saying that the outside of the cinnamon roll is bad or the first 4 rings in Apex Esports is not fun to watch. That's not what I'm saying. But once you get to zone 4, 5, 6, once you get to the center of that roll, that's where things really get juicy. So I'm glad we caught that one at the end. And then we also get to see, obviously, a huge pickup there. We see tons at the top of that leaderboard towards the end. Obviously, we get a look at the Hammerheads and finding themselves a pretty good spot. But then JAR closing that one out. It really sparked some teams or put some teams on the radar for me.
Exactly. JR especially here. The Tons, of course, again, after their winning game two. The only team that did not find its way into our late game for that last one was Dreamy Bulls. And that had been a team that was in both of the previous end zones for at least what we started off on for World's Edge. Hopefully now in Storm Point, once again, they'll get the opportunity to at least prove themselves here. They notably start somewhere around, I believe, yes, that lightning rod area. You can see them already making their way across. And this is the things that we don't get to catch when we jump in late. There are the potential for contests every step of the way. And you can see already right off the bat, Moggers are there by Zoo Station, and with potentially as well Learn and Clue from Paraphernalia just below them at Lightning Rod. It does make for a slightly difficult rotation if they're not careful.
Yeah, I thought we would see some contests there. That Lightning Rod contest I was expecting. Griffin Elite, we're looking to play there earlier. I know Echo HQ also a spot on their radar, which could be an early contest for us. Instead, we head elsewhere, out towards the edges here. I love me a Gibraltar player. I'm not saying that, you know, everybody should go out and play Gibraltar, but I really enjoyed the game when he was in the meta. So I'm hoping that maybe we can get some love there from Kingslayer and friends with that Gibraltar in their back pocket. We've also got a lot of crypto. Once we've stepped out, we've crept out of that, you know, maybe a bit tighter knit map in World Edge. We space things out, and we've got players like Valkyr are wanting to be able to reach out and grab that information versus just relying on that Bloodhound for those scans every so often. Yeah. There we go. That word escaped me.
Yeah. Well, right off the bat,
speaking of escaping,
gone, dusted, goodbye. Say hello and goodbye there. That is all it for the full box. Now taking advantage of that fight there. We don't even get to really check out the Three Stooges start here outside of Shipfall. They don't even get to start. So they'll say their goodbyes for today, and they'll have to readdress how they'll be playing things out when we break our way into Saturday's matches.
Yeah, unfortunate there. Riding solo, also a squad that just went down. That was our team of 2 of Mazumundi and Lunar. And unfortunately, they have fallen. So not long for this Worlds. 2 squads taken down. Like, still not the explosive starts like we were seeing on World's Edge, but that's what can you expect, right? You walk into this one a team of 2. I'm wondering where Golden is at, or if Golden is still traversing the lobbies as a solo, because they didn't have too awful of a run in World's Edge considering their, you know, condition.
You know, hopefully not roaming the land as a solo, but potentially in the setup to maybe extend some better success. For now, it is going to be Griffin, who did make a lot of great recoveries. We got to see them at least make their way through the deep end game last time around. They didn't survive as high as our top 4, but were much more present. And surprisingly, something that we do check in with is almost the full elimination of Paraphernalia. It is just Daryl Granberry left standing alive here, and that could have potentially been maybe the Dreamy Bulls over here on the side, maybe potentially what looks to be the Moggers. I don't see any damage on them, though.
Yeah, Moggers haven't done a whole lot. They're playing the rotate game. They will go ahead and grab that there. So They've got those Evos leveled up. They're going to be working forward. I'm wondering if we get to see an end zone that allows the Caustic to get a little bit more. That last end zone, I feel like we were robbed of what the Caustic can do, but that has been such a prevalent pick since the changes. Obviously having the heals, but being able to get so much more out of what the Caustic already gave you. And a team that we didn't get to see a whole lot out of last time on Storm Point, it was this Dreamy Bulls squad. Mr. Relis swapping over to play that Valkyrie, and Velocity peeks his head out, and it almost gets ripped off. He's backed away, forced to pop a battery.
This is something they'll have to take the time to look for a bit of recovery here. The zone choking things out, but Dreamy Bulls, you put a triple take into the hands of Mr. Relis, and this is something that we've seen pay dividends time out, time again. The only thing that works against them is the fact that they themselves also got to get them moving. Can't quite take their time too much to capitalize here up against Delicate Green. You can see them already launching out in a way off of this zip line for safety.
Yeah, Moggers, we talked about them not doing a whole lot at the beginning of this one, and then they start to take a bit of damage and look to rotate their way on through. Triple take. This is tough. Delicate and Delicate Apex. Okay, all right. I guess this is where we're at. Either way, Delicate Apex, the Caustic here, rocking that triple take, and I'm wondering if we'll see shots as good as Mr. Relis had landed early in this one, especially on a map like this where you've got those long sight lines and those scoped weapons. Can get stuff done for your team. Meanwhile, another team that hasn't done a whole lot in way of damage or leveling up their Evo shields, and teams are starting to rotate. So that's a scary place to be, sitting on the napkins there as your shields.
Still, there's time. It's a round one, and I feel like if you're in the midst of your round one close, you've got the chance for napkins. Oh my gosh, Daryl Granberry just missing out on what could have been a very, very swift end from the Dreamy Bulls there, as they will be allowed, I say that, allowed, permitted to survive by the grace of the Lord himself, giving them that extra sight, that extra vision. As a result, we'll continue to see the Dreamy Bulls make for their rotation, as I hope to see them make their end game, and maybe the same can be said for Paraphernalia. They gotta take their time to find some stability.
Yeah, that was a nice spin there, though. A couple of shield batteries, and being able to top themselves off, have them resources up high. Skino still working their way through, hitting those ring consoles as well. So having a firm understanding of where this zone is going, where they need to play. They've got a Caustic, they've got a Gibraltar working hand in hand as, out goes the gas. That grenade goes through. Shots down from Vert, and he's out of ammo once more. Forced reload. Mastiff comes out. Beautiful shots in response.
This double knocks down. This is tons. This is not the place you want to be for a roster that has been so successful today. Obviously, they won't lose out on a major chunk of their points, as, like I said, they have been successful, but losing out on Natakai would be a huge loss to your potential endgame. The nice thing, though, is the fact that they are working once again with that conduit, so they can make for a late recovery, get a banner off of Crafter, and play their way back in. The only problem is going to be the fact that they lose what could have been very nice rotations for good positions into this next zone.
It's tough. So something's going on with Monster, and I was wondering what was happening there, because Cataclysm just kept going, and it does look like the cat pulled the plug on the PC or something. So that's a tough place to be. It was already in a rough spot, and it gets a whole lot harder. As well, we saw Valk earlier, not playing the Valk, instead playing the Crypto, and they've added 1 KP to their tally. They rotate their way on through. Now, Weather Shark is the Pathfinder that we saw get shot out of the sky. And this is yet another team that has had a very passive beginning here. And no Evo to be picked up along the way. So hopefully they can find safe travels as they rotate on in. My only fear, although we are only at Zone 2, is these players want to fight. They're going to find you rotating. So if you're doing so with white shields, you are anything but safe.
And that's something that we've really seen reared its head when we talk about the changes alongside Season 2 especially. Players are more confident taking these fights, knowing that there isn't that extra shield swapping, there isn't those early finds at POIs anymore. A lot of the damage you do in the Evo you find is committed to you finding that damage there. We're going to see the mark come out here from Breezy. That's something that is a dead giveaway to your position alone with the laser, but also the sounding is unmistakable for many of the players who have been out here in Apex before. So for that sniper's mark, likely to be put away for now. And for Breezy, a potential, we'll say, vantage that might throw something into later fights. But honestly, as a single individual, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, that's scary alone to be not only a team of two, but being one of two alive there, taking shots at somebody. You would have to think 4 games in, the teams have understood, who's the team of one, who's the team of two, and who's playing the vantage. Well, it's really only one person. I think that's the first one we've seen on the day, or the only person playing it on the day. So I mean, hey, hats off to them for taking that shot and surviving. They still have some game to be played, and it looked like they're going to pick up their fallen comrades' banner. Meanwhile, Gravity Cannon taken, and this looked like it was going to be taken into some action here. Maybe I'm seeing things? I guess I was seeing things.
Hammerhead are clear. They've got nothing to worry about as they will not be forced to fight as a duo. Hopefully they find some kind of respawn potential as we pop on over to Val greater than Apex. The last time we checked out this roster, they were absolutely cleaning things up as a 2v3, notably the Universe, who came out on top of a very, very close last time on World's Edge. We'll see if that kind of aggression plays some favors here. I do want to point out, though, that our zone is continuing to work its way further and further out towards that kind of mill-oriented millage area for most of our teams. So for a lot of our higher-end rosters have not made their way in just yet. I will point out, though, Skino rearing their head in the feed. JAR facing a double knock and potentially, I believe, that full wipe. Our winners of last game eliminated by Skino.
Eliminated by Skino in 13th place. That is not where you want to be if you're looking to make a name for yourself again in this one. Going outside the placement points there. So hopefully they had some KP to their name to keep themselves competitive here. As Weather Shark and friends, they're doing what they can. They're doing their darndest to get looted up. There's still a couple of white shields. Lodestar we saw ratting earlier on World's Edge. Oh, one of 2 delegates eventually taken down. Skino continue to clean things up as Moggers have been taken out. Now 2 KP at the very least, but inside this house, they've got the caustic. So nobody really wants to push into this, but hey, throwables, that's fair game.
Just an absolutely disgusting place of control from Skino here on the side. I mean, from moving outside of the bean area now into the face of Millage, you can see how quickly they shred through the opponent there. Zifify basically almost gets that full pickup, and it is going to be saved by the bell by Vink on this caustic with that gas doing the work. And this is why you see this character so meta right now, right? Being able to lay control to an entire building is so hard to deal with. Meanwhile, the Tons, though, a team that has seen wins before and we're hoping to see wins again, look to break on through the other side. That'll be it for Binkin with that caustic down. This is the go button you've been waiting for. A bare-ended wall of a Gibraltar is something to fight against, but can be your advantage too, with no worries out on the side for Skino. This is going to be full shield swaps and a reset for Tons after a very successful fight.
Yeah, beautiful fight there. They came, they saw, they conquered. It was a really bad spot, unfortunately, for Skino because they were running out of that utility from the caustic. After the fight that they had just taken, I think they had 1 trap remaining, maybe 1 in reserve, and Tons able to walk up and collect. They don't get the full wipe. The Wraith in that fight and eventually ends up getting away. And there is a Gibraltar. So there's a chance at the resurrections, a chance at the buyback, but that is, I mean, it's a tall ask for Skino to be able to do that and grab that reset. As again, things are starting to converge. Zone 3 moving in. Spencer, unfortunately, buddy, nobody can come back for you there. So the squad, a full box, will not be, in fact, a full box. Down to 2, a banner recoverable, but once more, I mean, it's the same problem that Skino are going to have, right? Resurrecting at this point in the game, you can write it off almost.
Yeah. Great setup here on the high ground from full boxes. They will try to clean things up from behind. We do see Dreamy Bulls continuing to pick up the pace. Breezy finally picked off as that vantage, and that might just be them down below. Immune has to be careful about peeking that because that was the same sightline that just got Breezy killed here for the likes of the Dreamy Bulls. This is nothing more than extra damage, icing on the cake, the KP to represent in their game 4 with 1 knockdown and potentially looking for more off of this grab lift. There is nowhere to go for the full box, and they take themselves all the way up to the top 7 and continue to look for more.
Yeah, 9 KP. This is the Dreamy Bulls that we were talking about. This is not the Dreamy Bulls we saw in Game 3, but the squad that we were expecting to see, and they're putting up a performance much like we saw in World's Edge, where they're not afraid to take fights. They come through, they clean up their full box down to their final 2. 9 KP now in the back pocket. You mentioned top 7, so they're sitting pretty in way of points for that KP, and I can't imagine they're going to be done anytime soon. Now, the inverse here on the opposite side as things slow down for Griffin Elite. They're playing a different game. This is something out of the Splinter Cell universe. This is not Apex Legend the way they're playing this.
Like this, try to extend out one quick edge to get that last Evo. It's not going to be enough for Totally or Bamboozlified, but still, purple on Lodestar is at least something to work with in some of these final fights. I do want to touch on the fact that Skeeto do go down 7th. They are finally picked apart by none other than our friends from the Dreamy Bulls, finding that last remaining rat after their excursion against the Tons. That's going to be the big one this game. Tons v. Well, the Dreamy Bulls here. Meanwhile, from above, Val greater than Apex are more than happy to see if they can close out this rotation from Griffin Elite. We already talked about Splinter Cell. Well, the alert has gone off, and there's no real further distance to close. You're going to land right in the face of Val greater than Apex.
Yeah, and for as strong as this team looked on World's Edge, in just the fighting aspect alone, right? The gunfights, mano-a-mano, team versus team, I'm surprised they've been as quiet as they have been. Now they're sending out the pop shots. They're seeing purple shields, red shields, so maybe that's not the fight that they want to take. And now they're being forced with the blue Evos on their back to do just that as they back themselves into a corner. Top gonna pop his last shield battery to try and get that shield up. The Universe in an awkward spot as he's going to have to slow heal with the cells. And for now, chaos has subsided. They've been allowed to breathe. Meanwhile, 11 KP now for Dreamy Bulls, but Mr. Relis, it's almost like I cursed him there. We speak their name and Mr. Relis goes down.
Should have been easy pickups there. Instead, it will be the end of the Hammerheads, but it comes at the cost of an extended revive. It's lucky for the Dreamy Bulls that this is a 4-squad lobby on a round 5. The Tons, Val greater than Apex, in one more team left standing here in their final moments are to represent our, well, final 4. Curious to see, we know for a fact that we just saw the interior held by Dreamy Bulls. My question is, does anyone hold the height of Mill? Someone playing that roof. This cross maybe says otherwise.
And nobody spotted on the scan, so a moment of respite. This rotation, not a great one. We'll see if they look to go atop the rock here. Not quite pulling the trigger. Speaking of rotations. Uh-oh. Okay, sneaky Wraith working their way on through. And this has pulled them away from the balloon, right? This has pulled them away from the redeploy. And that's split up this Dreamy Bulls squad. They does look like they collect another kill. So it's 12 KP, but a redeploy will still have a 4th squad somewhere out there. A player down now as the Dreamy Bulls collect the kills, but able to find the white.
Whoa, there it is.
Maybe they can now. Yeah, heaps of damage. This is where the redeploy was going, and everybody's gone there. And I mean, can you stop the Dreamy Bulls? Can somebody stop these red Evos?
I hate to say it, had they been just a little bit safer, they have the time to reset, but now the Tons, knowing that Mr. Relis are down, are probably, yes, moving in to capitalize what has been an excellent start from the Dream Bulls in Game 4, and what could have been the perfect of closings is now all collapsing here. The Tons are more than happy to break on through, but just as quickly, KATP finds a quicker than nothing pickup as well. Velocity Act, the final member left standing. Tons of full 3-man, and notably Ballistic Busters. That is that final roster out there in the fields. I was shocked to see Val greater than Apex, though, get eliminated. And that will be the end of the Dream Bowls. Ballistic Busters, as I believe a solo member, send in the EMP. And the job is done at this point. If you're losing in a 3, or if you're finding success in a 3v1, that's a whole different beast. For the Tons, they just have to search and destroy.
Yeah, search and destroy. It's that lone Crypto and Valk just trying. Well, I mean, just trying. There's no trying. There's no anything. Just gonna get run down. I mean, Tons, the champions here, they close out the day with another victory, and they show us the versatility of the squad as they pick up wins on both maps in World's Edge and on Storm Point. And they not only did that, Zephyr, but they had top finishes as well. We caught them there at the end of the last Storm Point in Game 3. I mean, that has got to be a huge boon. And Dreamy Bulls, 12 KP. I'm wondering how much Tons were able to scrape up as Dreamy Bulls kind of just walked their way through the lobby.
Yeah, I am curious. We know for a fact that they were the ones that got into the excursion against Griffin Elite when Griffin Elite were coming in, and we tried to see Valkyrie Apex take advantage of that. Instead, it was them moving in from that building after wiping out Skino and then cleaning up that squad, and that's when you started to see the red and purple shields get into the mix. That was them, and as a result, they cleaned things up, take away that win, and very likely are handedly the leaders of Group B. And I'll tell you what, Tanner, even though we've seen some incredible play from teams like Dreamy Bulls, like, of course, the Hammerheads and JAR and so many others that have come out in this Group B today, the notable thing is I am so stoked to see what happens during finals. Obviously, there is still a day of group stage left standing, but we could already see our leaders, Imperial Howl Lovers from Group A, the Tons from Group B. It is going to make for one heck of a series when we get to Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday cannot come soon enough because, like you're mentioning, right, to see the Titans of Group A and Group B collide, because we've seen, it's hard to gauge, right, group to group, how well each person would do in each place. But when you look at the kill counts, when you look at how aggressive the teams are playing, when you're looking at teams like Tons, who are kind of just slamming people inside buildings, even though they've got a caustic, or Dreamy Bulls, who are just continue to push forward, where they play this really fun chip game with Mr. Relis, who's got this triple take, who it doesn't seem like the guy misses. And then once they're all red Evo, they're like, all right, well, let's just do this thing. And then somebody's got 12 KP on the team, right? I am very excited for Sunday. But what today showed us, especially when we swapped the maps, was teams that had slower starts. Now, the gap is pretty large, but the teams that had slower starts definitely started to ramp up through the day. And I'm hoping that we get to see a bit more of that now that the confidence levels are probably at a better spot, right? We saw MIA was the first team eliminated on the tournament, right? On the day, they were the first team gone. And then as we moved through Game 2, it looked a little better. Then we moved over to Storm Point, and MIA, whether it be with one person or 3 people on the team, we're starting to see them in that top 10, in that top 5. The confidence, I'm a little sad that we're stopping now, because I think that does kind of free kicker a little bit. It ices the kicker a little bit, but I am really excited to see what tomorrow holds in way of these teams that needed some time to kind of grow into the pressure they were feeling today.
Well, it has been an absolutely incredible start to the VESL's Apex one-off tournament, and you can tell from us alone that we are excited to see how all these stories continue to unravel as we make our way through the finale of our group stage here between A and B. We've got 4 more games for you tomorrow on the same channel at roughly an hour earlier here, so come on back and check it out if you want to see who makes their way to the finals this upcoming Sunday. I have been Zephyr, and of course, that has been Tanner Metro, and we thank you all, and we hope you stay safe and have a good night.